my podcast, Rediscover. In today's episode, we're going to jump into online dating. Just some general rules so that you know what to expect. Stay tuned. I got a lot out of the conversation that I had with my friend Julie and listened to all her experience. It's funny how someone who's 30 and someone who's, well, actually she's 31, she just had a birthday, and who's 66 can have the same kinds of experiences dating. You know, that's why my question always is, and I think I might put this up on Instagram when I can figure out how to do it, is ask, how old do you feel inside? I know I feel like I'm in my 40s, and I always say things like that, except now I have a 40-year-old daughter, so I'm going to have to stop that. But inside, I feel like I'm about 40 or 45 years old. And I always think I'm the youngest person in the room. And then I realize, no, I'm probably the oldest person in the room. But inside, I still feel young. And 40s was great. I mean, I felt young in my 40s. My 50s, I felt a little wiser. And in my 60s, I feel a little more confident. I really liked my 40s and the things I did in my 40s, including having a baby when I was the year I turned 45. So when I first started online dating, or going online looking for dates, or however you want to describe it, I was just like, what the heck is going on? I really, as I've said before, I had no idea. I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea how to do it. I had no idea what was what, how people act. I mean, I thought dating was going to be like it was when I was in my early 20s before I got married. People, you met somebody, they thought you were interesting, you thought they were interesting, they asked you for a date, you go on a date, and then, you know, if you like each other, then you kind of become boyfriend and girlfriend, like no big deal. It's so not like that. So the first thing to know about online dating is there's going to be what seems like a lot of rejection, and it's not personal. You have to just understand that everyone who's on there has a whole bunch of people that they're talking to also, just like you do. I go off and on online dating. I go back on it to keep fresh for this podcast. Most lately, I'm on Facebook dating, which is hilarious, just like all the other ones I've been on. But I probably at this point have probably at least 15 people that I'm having conversations with, probably about 15. And for any reason, I can just be like, nah, not this guy. Not really knowing him, or sometimes they seem like they're really nice guys, but they live too far away. For me, long distance doesn't work. Or they'll just say something that they're interested in. It's just like, no, that's not going to work. So, but it's not personal. It's not that they're bad people or I'm like, ew, no, not you. It's just that I don't think it's going to work. Or it can also be that they're not keeping up enough of the conversation and I'm just too tired and too lazy. And there are too many other guys that are keeping up the conversation that I just let those go to the wayside. So I think when I first started dating online, I was so like taken aback when suddenly someone would just forget about me or disappear or not answer anymore or not bother starting the conversation every day. I felt rejected. That was rough because it happens a lot. Sometimes people just ghost you. And I don't really think that's nice. That's really prevalent among the millennials. It's an easy out. But to me, it means that you're forgetting that there's an actual real person on the other side, on the other end of that conversation. So I don't think that's very nice. I only do something like that if somebody says something gross to me or sends me a gross picture or something. But otherwise, I try to give somebody an explanation. Just remember that when you first get on there, and if people seem to be a little flaky or a little flighty, it's just the nature of it, because truthfully, a lot of people do forget that it's a real person on the other end because we're just typing letters and words that become text messages. And a lot of people have been burned. That's something else that's really important to know. A lot of people have been burned. I've been burned a few times, and it's a common experience for everybody. People act certain ways, and so sometimes people will be very suspicious, or they'll be very on guard, or they will, like I said, like you might remind them, you might say something inadvertently that reminds them of someone who burned them. And so they'll just X you off. So the point is that you need to have a thick skin. If you're going to do online dating, you need to have a thick skin, because there are lots of people out there. There are lots of scam artists. There are lots of people who want to take advantage of you. And there's lots of men who are looking for one thing. They're looking for a booty call. So it's just the way it is. I had somebody ask me one time, when I told them I don't mess around before marriage, they were like, well, then why are you on an online dating site? As if an online dating site is there for that reason, to find your next booty call. So just be aware that there's a lot of that. Just really basic. When you start online dating, if you haven't ever done it, first you text each other on the site. And then if guys ask me for my phone number to get off that app really fast, to me, that's a red flag. I don't think that's safe. And to me, why are they so anxious to get off the app? Because I think the app is kind of watched over sometimes, maybe not on Facebook, but the other apps are kind of watched over, and certain words will set off a response from the app administrators. And so sometimes that is what concerns me. If they want to right away get off the app and text you over normal text messaging or on WhatsApp or Google Hangout, Facebook Messenger. I don't know about Messenger, but how much that's watched over. But one thing about catfish is that they will want to get you off the app, because if you figure out that they're catfishing you, you can report them as long as they're still in your queue. But if they get you off of the app and then delete themselves from your queue, that is a very bad sign. That's either a player or a catfish. So my advice to you is, if somebody does that, if they if they want to get you off the app and then you notice that they have erased themselves from your queue, that's a red flag. I would absolutely not go and talk to them anymore. I've also had guys do it because some of the dating apps, you can tell someone's location. You can check their location while they're still in your queue and you're in theirs. If you have your settings a certain way, you can check where they are. And so sometimes they will delete themselves from your queue. So they'll ask for your phone number, and then they'll delete themselves from your queue because they don't want you to be checking their location, because they're a player. They are not wanting you to know that they spent the night in another city and then were back home in the morning, and that city wasn't far enough away to be on vacation. So I actually had this happen to me. And I was like to the guy, were you staying overnight? Did you have a sleepover with your boyfriends? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay. So anyway, of course, that was the end of that. So beware of somebody else. I found out, let's see, he had erased himself, and then somehow we rematched. And after we rematched, I was looking at him, and I was looking at it, and he was actually in my city or my town in the county that we live in. He was in my town at like 8 or 8:30 in the morning. Well, no wonder he had, previous to that time, no wonder he had erased himself from my queue. He didn't want me to know that he was in my city at 8 o'clock in the morning. What do you think he was doing there? Do you know what he told me he was doing in my town, not my city, my town at 8 o'clock in the morning on his day off? And by the way, he said that where he lived, I had never been to his place, but he said he lived in another town in our county about 25 minutes away from where I live. Do you know what he was doing at 8 o'clock in the morning in my town? He told me getting his car washed. Getting his car washed. That was the best he could come up with when I called him out on it. I think either he had a girlfriend out here that he didn't want me to know, or he had moved out here and didn't want me to know that either. Just because of different things that he said while I was actually in touch with him. Anyway, it's always very suspect if they do that, if they delete you from, if they delete themselves from your queue. So just beware of that. Because if somebody catfishes you, you want to report them as soon as you can, and they know that you can do that. So that's why they delete themselves. It's a big red flag. So eventually, though, you will have to give out a phone number, and most of the time, not always, but most of the time, if somebody really wants to do that, or if I'm trying to get off the app because I've just had enough, but there might be one or two people that I still like to talk to, then I give them a burner phone number. And that is, you can go online and look for ones called, it's like text free or text now or something. You can Google it and look up free phone numbers. And I think you can get a Google phone. You can get Google phone numbers also. Sorry, I'm not that technologically advanced, but you can get free phone numbers. I had a guy that I kept trying to, what's a nice word for it? I kept trying to ditch him and he wouldn't take no for an answer. He really loved me. What can I say? Actually, he didn't love me. He really liked me, but he was more one of those guys that was in love with love. And so, so that's why he was like, he just had a hard time when I tried to break it off with him. I only dated him for like a week and anyway, it was because of him that I found out that you can get these free phone numbers. And so if you give somebody your phone number that's from one of these free apps, then they can't trace who you are and where you live. Because sometimes if you type a number into a Google search bar, it will come up with your name and address. And you want to be careful about that. So I think it's a good idea to get one of these. And some guys know when they, I don't know how they find out. They probably do a search and they find out that you're giving them one of those burner phone numbers and they get mad about that. But to me, if a man doesn't realize how much a woman needs to protect herself, that it's standard protocol for a woman to not only give out one of those, a web-based phone number, but also to Google them. If they don't understand that and they're that touchy, then I wouldn't bother with them either. Because they should understand that. A mature man will understand that a woman needs to protect themselves. So sometimes I just tell them, yeah, I Googled your name. I have a friend, only go out with a guy if they would give her their Facebook page. She would say to them, do you have Facebook? Because she wanted to check them out and make sure that they were a real person. And also that they weren't, she wasn't being catfish, but also that they were an okay person. So those are just some suggestions. So when you meet somebody, if you're going to take it to the next step, you want to give them a phone number, you can do that. And then also before you actually meet them in person, you might want to type their name into your Google search and see what comes up. Nothing wrong with that. They even have those services that I think you can pay like 99 cents or something for the first time, for the first search that you do. And they'll give you some background stuff. I never do it because I'm just cheap and I don't know what I'm getting into, like how hard it's going to be to stop them, taking my money. But once you give them your credit card number, it might be worth it. And then, of course, when you go to meet them, you meet them in a public place. Always a public place. Always, 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 always. And a busy public place, not a secluded public place, not the furthest corner of a park someplace. You meet them at a coffee shop or a restaurant. Or I've met people when COVID first shut down everything. I met people at the park when the parks were open, but a lot of other places were closing. I met people at the park and went on a walk with them. And then people felt safe too because we were outside. They weren't so worried about germs. But I know the park very well, and I knew that there would always be people around. So another kind of alternative. Could meet at the beach if you want somebody to see you in a swimming suit the first time. Not what I do, but you could do that because the beach is always crowded. So always make it in a very public place. So back to the actual texting back and forth. So one thing I think that Julie mentioned is that you want to look at photos. I mean, I didn't know any of this stuff when I started, and I couldn't find it anywhere either. It might be out there now, and the actual dating sites may have more information now, and it would be good to look through that. But when I first started, they didn't have this kind of stuff. They didn't have these kind of warnings. They didn't want people to get a negative view, I guess, of the dating sites. Sometimes people who are not being real, they will put up very grainy looking pictures. So you want to be careful about that. And also, a lot of times I've noticed people will put up young pictures first, and then you have to scroll down until you find maybe the ones that are a little bit more current. So somebody that looks like they're 40 will end up looking like they're 60 sometimes by the end. So just so that you don't get fooled, look through all the pictures. But there should be enough pictures that you get a good feel for who they are. If there's only 2 or 1, or some people actually on Facebook have none, I mean, that's absolutely a no. If they don't have a picture of themselves up there, of course, I hope nobody in their right mind would swipe right, which is when you accept them, on someone that doesn't even have a picture of themselves. And if they only have 1 picture, no, that's a no for me too. Sometimes if they only have 2 pictures, because you just can't get a feel for who they are or what they're doing or what they're about or anything. And also they need to be clear pictures. Okay, so other things will happen. Some of the things that happened to me when I first started this, one of the reasons I say that don't give out your phone number too quickly and don't go off the app too quickly is because I did that with somebody who seemed like such a gentleman. And there were probably red flags there that I would know now, but I didn't know then. So I gave him my phone number. This is before I knew about burner phone numbers. I gave him my phone number, and the first thing he did was send me a dirty picture, a really gross, dirty picture. But even before him, I think, somebody asked me probably the first day that I was texting with him because, again, I didn't know any better. As soon as I gave him my real phone number, he sent me a dick pic. It was the first dick pic. I was horrified, shocked, because I come from a very conservative religious background. I was like, I just could not believe it that somebody would send me that. Oh my gosh. And then got rid of him right away though, because it's like, no way. And he was cute too, too bad. And then a little while later, this other guy sends this other one. Oh my gosh. So for a while, I think I erased everybody that I had been talking to, but one of those people, and I blocked them all. I blocked and erased everybody. One of those people, I guess there was another guy I had given my phone number to. He was very tenacious, though. He found a way around my blocked phone number and called me and said, hey, what did you block me for? And so I told him what happened. I said, I just got rid of everybody because after those experiences, I was like, what am I doing here? I can't trust anybody. And he's like, well, I would never do that. And he was right. He never did. He never did anything like that. The other thing that people will do that makes me immediately like get rid of them is if they talk about sexy stuff like right away. Like, after a while, of course, a guy is going to say something like I don't do it when it's on the app. If they're talking about that stuff when we're still only texting, no. But, eventually a guy is going to say something to you because that's just how they are. But if they say something really early on, they make some kind of comment. Somebody recently said to me, oh, maybe someday soon you'll get to have one of my fantastic massages. I'm like, nope, done, I'm out. Because then you know what it is they're really looking for. It's not a relationship of the kind that you want. I'm assuming that's what we're talking about at our age. I think that's what we're talking about, looking for somebody that we can have as a partner for the rest of our lives. And I mean, you might be looking for something else, so that's all up to you. But this is for the person who's like me, looking for something real, somebody to be my companion and my partner, have my back, be loyal, to live out the rest of my life with, which, I mean, let's face it, what is it, 20 or 25 more years? That's it. Anyway, that kind of sexy talk, that kind of thing, even that give you a massage, we all know what giving you a massage means. So that makes me just be like, nope, not interested. I'm just not interested. You want somebody, you deserve somebody who has a lot of good qualities, not some dirt bag who's just looking for a booty call. There's plenty of girls. Oh, that brings me to something else. So another reason not to get hurt by somebody who just disappears or ghosts you or flakes is because there's so many girls out there. There's so many women on these dating apps. And there are so many pretty women. Who knows what they're doing to their pictures, using filters, or they could be doing anything. So everyone looks gorgeous, right? So, they don't know you. They don't know how special you are. They don't know how perfect you are. They don't know what a catch you are. And so they might just be like, oh, too much trouble. No, not going to bother. No, no. And just get rid of your place in their queue, delete you from their queue, because there's always another girl coming up. It's pick it, choose. Let's see if I can find someone even more perfect and more perfect and more perfect. Let me see if I can find what they're all looking for is a woman who has a lot of personality and has a job, has her own place, is independent, but not too independent, and somebody who they will say, don't want any drama. Do you know what I don't want any drama means? It means I'm going to be able to do whatever it is that I want to without you ever complaining about it. So that's another person. When I see somebody who says, I'm looking for no drama, whatever, or I'm not looking for drama, blah, blah. I mean, I wish I would have said some of these things that I've said that men actually write. Then I know that I'm reading the profile of a big baby, and I do not swipe right on that person. At this age, we've all earned the right to speak up, stand up for what we believe in, stand up for other women, and speak up for ourselves. And so you're looking for a man who has a strong enough personality to handle the woman that you're becoming or the woman that you are. You don't need to settle for some body who's just looking for a booty call or looking for some little wallflower who's just going to put up with his antics because he's saying he doesn't want any drama. Not a lot, most men don't put that on there, but the ones that do, don't swipe right on them. Just a little life advice for me. Take it or leave it as you like. Today's episode, I talked about general rules for online dating. so that hopefully you'll have a better experience than I did, and not a what the heck kind of experience. In my next episode, we're going to talk more specifically about players and playboys. See you then. This is Mary Beth Rosebrough, and this is Rediscover.